What is going on, guys? Welcome back to More Games, and today I have a really interesting video and build to talk about. So if you've seen my last video where I actually put out the POV of this build, I would recommend, if you haven't seen it, waiting until this obviously video is complete, because that is the POV, the finished product of what we're going to be building in today's episode. So you guys will, of course, hopefully already know what my stream exclusive park is, and what I do in that park. So that park is basically where I build on live stream, and usually I don't build outside of the live stream, but I've been having a few little problems with the live stream lately, and I did want to continue working in that park. So this was kind of a build that I did while I'm trying to fix my live stream and get it back up and running and stuff, because we have just moved away from the YouTube streaming and moved back over to Twitch, and there's a few little teething issues there. So this was something that I was building in the meantime for the stream exclusive park, and I've not seen anyone try and do this before, and this was kind of something I've wanted to do for a while, but I didn't really know how or when I was going to get around to doing it. So this was a great time for me to start working on this. So something, at least in the UK, that I always used to do in the summertime when we'd go to the beach. There was one beach specifically that had a Helter Skelter, and as a kid I always used to love going down the Helter Skelter. You'd grab your little, I don't even know what it is, like a mat or something like that, and you would slide down the slide, and it was always something really special for me as a kid. Obviously there wasn't any like coasters or anything there. This was just kind of like a beachside attraction, but we don't have that in Planet Coaster. At least it's not something in the game currently at the point of filming this video. So I did want to kind of build a Helter Skelter, but I didn't want it to just be a feature in the park. I wanted to actually be something that the guests could ride on. So the best way I could come up with doing this was actually to try and incorporate a roller coaster into a Helter Skelter, which is crazy. I don't even know why I decided to do this, but I did decide to do it, and it actually worked out okay. So of course, trying to get a coaster to go up inside the middle of the Helter Skelter and then come round down the outside of the exterior of the building was going to be quite a tough thing to do. So obviously I had to take into account the size of the roller coaster, how it was going to fit in there, and how big the actual exterior of the building had to be to actually house this monstrous coaster. Now this coaster is no means safe once it is complete. If you guys have seen the POV, the first drop of this coaster is how would you put it, rather deadly, I guess. But it's functional. People do actually ride on it. They will jump on it in the park, so the guests will go on it and they will enjoy it. But in real life, if you rode on this, you're probably going to end up with maybe a broken neck or a missing hand or something like that from the first drop. So I wouldn't recommend riding this in real life if this was an actual thing. But then again, it's not an actual thing, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, back to the build. Trying to put a roller coaster inside a Helter Skelter. Obviously, the main reason I put the coaster in there was to make it functional in the park. Actually have people be able to interact with this piece, instead of it just being a scenery. I could have just made this scenery, and if you guys want this, it is on the workshop currently. You can download this and just get rid of the coaster. There isn't currently an external slide on the outside of this building, as you'll see by the end of the video, but I am planning on re-uploading to the workshop without the coaster and actually putting the slide on itself. So if you're just looking for something that is just a Helter Skelter, it's a really good size. It's not humongous and it's not really small, so it does fit in. And I will be building around this in my actual park anyway, but I will be removing the coaster at some point in the future and just adding a normal, you know, Helter Skelter slide to the exterior. So if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know in the comment section. I'll try and get on that as soon as possible, so you guys can just have a scenery piece of a Helter Skelter with a full slide and everything like that on the exterior for your park. So yeah, of course I had to take many different design aspects from different kind of Helter Skelters from around the world. Now, I did obviously use Google Images for reference work for this, and I think there was about 4, maybe 5 different Helter Skelters from around the world that I actually took aspects from. Obviously, housing the top or the first drop of this roller coaster was going to be quite tough, because unless I made this Helter Skelter about 2.5 times the size that I actually did, the only way I could do this in the actual size that I managed to do was to actually have like this extra piece on the top. Now, not many Helter Skelters have this. Most of them do go up to their point, and then they kind of like a lighthouse, then like tube up from there. But there was 1 or 2, I think, from America that had this kind of like bulbous section on the top that kind of stuck out a little bit wider. So that was kind of the design for the top part of my build that I decided to go for, because it was good to house the first drop, because the first drop was actually a little bit wider than the top piece of the Helter Skelter itself. So that was a good way to hide that. Ended up looking pretty decent as well with the design of the top half that I actually went for in the end. But as you can see from this kind of little POV, even though it is really sped up, to actually get this to work, I had to have the first drop kind of centered in the middle, but offset a little bit to the right hand side, so we could then spin the track around almost in a full circle, and then when it came back around to the right hand side, then it was able to start going down and around the exterior of the building. So it was quite a tough job to try and house that first drop, because of course there was no other real coasters that would actually fit in here. I mean, I could have any other coaster technically, but it would have to enter with speed. So this would kind of be like a midsection of a coaster if it wasn't this coaster track that I decided to go for, because it would have to enter the base of the Helter Skelter and then be able to lift itself up and then go into that spiral with speed, which I didn't really want to do. I wanted to have this as kind of like the starting and the finishing point of the coaster, which wouldn't have been possible technically with any of the other coaster designs. Of course, I guess I could have gone with a drop tower and have it drop in the top, but then there would be a piece missing from the top and all sorts of different weird things with different designed coasters. So this was the reason why I went for this design, and I kind of, you know, it works really well. It fit kind of perfectly. At the beginning of this video, you did see me like making circles, which were kind of like my stencils, I guess. Kind of like when you're drawing a picture as a kid, you would use a stencil kind of as your guideline. That was kind of just made up on the spot. I didn't know how big this would have to be to house this, so I kind of winged it, and it just so happened to work out first try. The sizes of the circles which I used fit perfectly somehow. I guess it was fate, who knows. This was once again another one of my crazy wacky ideas that I just randomly thought about doing a while back. I wrote it down and then I finally got around to doing it, and it worked out. It worked out perfectly. This build was actually one day. I did this all in one day. Actually night, I should say night. I started working on this around 8 PM at night, and I didn't finish until was it like 4 in the morning. So yeah, this was actually the first time I've played Planet Coaster for that long in one go without getting bored for a long time. I play Planet Coaster a lot, but these days I kind of have to keep it to like maybe 3 or 4 hours at a time. But yeah, I think I did maybe 8 to 9 hours, 10 hours nearly in one sitting, and it went so quick. I was having so much fun building this. Once the first design of this was working out really well, then I just, you know, wanted to get it finished and keep going and going and going. So yeah, I think this ended up being maybe an 8-9 hour build, something along them lines. And then I did come back later on after I'd had breakfast, I think, and then finished off a few of the actual details. And I did add a few more things before I recorded the POV. But yeah, pretty much about 9 hours for this whole build, which I was really proud of, because of course I do usually come up with these crazy ideas thinking they're going to be maybe a 1-day build, 2-day build, maybe a week, and then they end up being like a month or 2 months or something ridiculous. So this was one that I actually thought would take me a long time, and it didn't take me as long as I thought it did. So it was a rather nice surprise to get this done as quickly as I did. So I did get that POV out for you guys. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend go seeing it after this. You get to see the coaster in all of its glory. And that video also has the download links for this. Now, this coaster is downloadable in 2 pieces. The first workshop piece is the building itself with the roller coaster and no external details pretty much. And then the second part is actually like the lighting details and the trees and the foliage and stuff like that. So if you're not interested in the lights, you don't have to download part 2, but I would definitely recommend it. It does make the build come together perfectly in your park if you have the lights and all those kind of extra trimmings that you get from, or that you would expect from a Helter Skelter in real life. So yeah, so as you can see, the main section of this building is pretty much done, external section should I say, and we are now going to work a little bit on the inside of this building. Now the inside, once this is actually finished and uploaded, is actually pretty bare inside. I've left it open for people to add scenery inside the tent or the structure, whatever you want to call it. But I did want to do the lift hill itself. So as you can see, I am kind of blocking it off so the guests that are in the queue line can't really see what's going on in there. And I am using this jet black kind of 3D piece board to kind of surround this in. I wanted it to be dark in that tunnel. We do actually later on come back in and add the starboards. So in the sci-fi scenery section, there is a piece which is the size of a normal wall piece, I think, in Planet Coaster, and it has these awesome lit up stars. So you can get this really great kind of like night sky effect with those boards. If you guys have never worked with them in Planet Coaster, I would definitely recommend you checking them out and start to try and use them in your builds, especially if you're doing a dark ride or something inside or space related or anything like that. Check out these boards, they're really awesome. I didn't actually know they existed until Subland Park, when Blind IRL did his section in the Subland Park. He actually used them, and I didn't know they existed. I'd never seen anyone really use them before, and I think I had seen one person use them, but I didn't realize what they were. I thought he'd actually made them himself. Turns out they're actually a scenery piece in game, which is awesome because they're so easy to use. They look fantastic and they just give that extra effect. And I did get a few comments on the POV video about the lighting in the inside of the lift hill. So yeah, it was a really good, nice added touch to that section, and I really enjoyed putting it in there. So what you can see right now is kind of the exterior section of the station here. Now this station kind of is half inside, half outside of the actual main structure. Now, not a lot of Helter Skelters in real life will have like an extra tent section on the side, but this was the best way to kind of house the station, because of course we couldn't have the station straight at the bottom of the building, because then we wouldn't have space to have the lift hill in there. So I did have to have this kind of sticking out the backside, and it kind of looks good. It looks okay, and I'm kind of happy with how this turned out. So yeah, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too out of place. I think the way that I decorated it, kind of the same red and white stripes as the main structure, kind of made it blend in a lot and fit in with the rest of the build. So I was really happy with how this turned out. So yeah, that's the extra section on the side. So what we're going to start working on now is the top section of this build. Now, I did lose a little bit of footage of the top section of this building, so you are going to have to excuse me for that. For whatever reason, sometimes my video recorder decides to stop working, but that's just something you have to deal with when you're making videos all the time. So apologies for that. There is a tiny bit of this video that isn't here that I would love to have shown you guys, but you get to see the finished product in the POV anyway, which will be linked at the end. It's in the description, and hopefully you guys will check that out if you want to see the full thing. Maybe I'll do a slow motion at the end of this video, we'll see, so you guys can see it in all its glory, so you don't have to click over to another video to see it. But Yeah, so as you can see, we're putting the trim around this section of the ride, which I mentioned earlier. Of course, this bit has to stick out a little bit wider than the actual base of the building to actually house the first drop and the section of the coaster that spins around before it goes off down the side of the tower. Now, like I said, I did use about 5 different references from different actual Helter Skelters from around the world, and there was only 1 or 2 that had this kind of wider section on the top. Now, the wider section on the top of the 2 that actually had this was not actually a full section of wall. It was actually like the walkway. So when the kids or the adults would climb up the tower on the inside, then when they came to the top, they would walk around this section and then take the ride down on their little mat or whatever it was. So in the actual references, that's what that was. But in this one that I'm building here, it was used to hide the section of the track. So that is why that's there, if you're wondering why that section is there. So yeah, now what you can see me doing is trying to make another circle that will actually fit just above the top of this track. So we could start building the roof section, because the roof section is very important. If we don't have a roof section, then the building's going to look very strange and incomplete. So the one that you just saw me do just a second ago was a little bit too small. So instead of using 2 meter planks to make this circle, I think I used 1.5. So 2.5 meter or 3 meter plank, I think. Yeah, 3 meter planks to make this circle. And it fit perfectly. So first attempt, it didn't really fit too well. Second attempt, fitted absolutely perfectly. So yeah, so what you're going to see in just a second is me working out the shape of the dome that goes on the top. So I think this was 15 degrees or 11 degrees snap-ins for this little wooden piece, which of course when copy and pasted all the way around the top section of this made a really nice dome section for the roof. And we do actually cover this with white and red 3D pieces, and it turned out really nice. It looked really, really good, and it looked really cylindrical. It looked really kind of round, and it didn't really show off the bends at all. So even though it's not an actual perfect circle on the top there, or cylinder, I don't really know what you call a half circle thing, but yeah, even though it's not fully cylindrical and smooth, because of the 3D pieces, they kind of have like a sheen and they reflect light really nice in this game. It kind of works really well, and it doesn't look too obvious that it's not perfectly smooth up there. So that was actually the little bit of footage where completing the roof of this building I actually lost. So apologies for that. But we're pretty much done with this video. So what I'll do is I'll go record a nice slow-mo section, and I'll plonk that in right now that you can see right now, and you can see exactly what it looks like when it's finished. But I would definitely recommend you guys go over and watch the POV. Like I said, it'll be right at the end of this video and in the description. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to drop a like, feel free to subscribe, and of course I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.